Tata Motors last year in 2020, somewhere in March, decided to hive off its domestic passenger vehicle unit into a separate unit. And the idea was to give it a little bit fresh push, because there was a time when Tata Motors used to be a premium, or in fact a major player in Indian passenger vehicle market. Passenger vehicle market is a kind of car market. It had about over 15% of market share. Now that market share slided around 3 to 4%. It has recovered a bit because of recent launches and a lot of activity since Mr. Chandrasekharan took over the reins at Tata Sons. So because of these all things, to give it a new push, bring in new energy and possibly new partners, because the car industry itself is on a new trajectory. There are new dimensions being added. Electric vehicle, clean energy is coming out as a big segment. So any player which is serious about its survival must get into this space. Therefore, Tata Motors has revealed their plans last year. Now, today, they have got the approval from the board and all the shareholders, uh, which means very soon we will have this new entity taking over. At the moment, this new entity has a market share of about 9,000 crore rupees, over 9,000 crore rupees. If you look at it, 9,000 crore rupees is a very small figure, and this looks like a very tiny part of the Tata Motors is being hived off, because there are various things. Tata Motors means, it means a lot of other things. I will explain you Tata Motors with a very simple picture. Many smaller brands, or in fact two major segments. One is commercial vehicle and the other one was passenger vehicle. And when we look at these, I have a picture which summarizes their product portfolio. They are into cars and sports utility vehicle, they are into trucks and buses, and also they are into defense. And if we go down here, we will see a very popular brand Nexon coming from Tata, and this is that picture where they serve a usually to the Indian Army and the defense requirements. On the other hand, they also are into heavy vehicle within the commercial vehicle. There are lighter vehicles, light heavy vehicles also, and there is the car segment. Now what they are doing is they are having off this utility. Please be sure they are Tata Motors also includes JLR revenues normally in their revenues, or their quarterly revenues. But because the entity is domestic and the purpose is to find new partners to move this, to give it new push, therefore the JLR revenues might not be part of this separate entity. That brings us to a different challenge. We will come to that point little later. Okay, and JLR has been contributing about 82% of Tata Motors revenue. The primary market of JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, is either China or UK. And China, it has a huge potential in terms of car sales, and they are keeping it outside this new entity. So we will have to see how this evolves and what is there for these shareholders. You also must understand that, because right now you are holding such a big company, now you are going to hold this. Though from management perspective it will be easier for them to build the partnership, how that will reflect into the company's actual stock split, how that will happen, we will get to know that very soon. Because I think they have a very high valuation, but this I don't know the exact numbers, but the current valuation of the new entity is very small. So I am hoping for every one stock of current Tata Motors, you will have many more stocks of new Tata Motors entity. We will see that. So there are few points I would like to outline. This will have, with this new change, the new entity will have a new head, which can be expert in the car industry, which can give them that extra bit of push to move and focus in that one space. And possibly when they are able to move in the right direction, they would try to list this as a separate entity, and if the results are good, possibly they will have good going in the market. Third is the partnerships. They can build the partnerships. If you remember lately, about one maybe a couple of months ago, there was a huge news about Tesla and Tata Motors looking to explore the partnership, which did not materialize. But if you looked at the gains in the stock market since that news, they were Tata Motors gained a lot since then. I think Tata Motors was trading around 220 or somewhere. Now they are trading around 320 or above that figure. And electric vehicle is going to be very important key pillar going forward. So that is again one area where they need. As I said, downsides, as a downside, there are a couple of areas which are not very clear. So without JLR, how would Tata Motors survive? What will give Tata Motors that extra appeal that investors are flocking that Tata Motors stock after initial euphoria, let's say? Because initially when these mergers, hiving offs, or demergers take place, always shareholders welcome them because it looks like they are thinking in a different direction. But when the initial euphoria dies down, what will give Tata Motors that appeal? And if you were a Tata Motors investor for very long, you would have observed Tata Motors did not perform really well for last 4-5 years. And I think since 2015, let me just pull in Tata Motors, and if we look at last 5 years, Tata Motors was since 2016 high, it touched upon the low of about 60 in 2020, before it went up again. So Tata Motors has Tata Motors has had a terrible history of underperforming market, despite these all major assets like JLR, commercial vehicle segment, and all these things. How would market react when you have, let's say, very little revenues coming from Indian market, and we don't know that? Okay. And the second challenge about the stock split, how would that pan out? We don't know that, right? So these are a couple of challenges. As we go along, probably we will have more clarity. Therefore, I am as excited as you are to see how this whole development takes place, because Tata Motors over last 2 years, if you would have noticed, their recent product launches, whether it is Harrier, Nexon, or the other smaller car, I think I'm forgetting the name, let me just check that, Altroz, and also there are a couple of other launches. They have been kind of good volume pullers, but they are not big differentiators so far. We will have to keep a close eye on this. So with that, I will conclude, and do let me know what do you think of these developments, and are you excited, and how do you see the stock or the market accepting this whole new development? Do write me. Thank you. Stay connected and take care.